This is Father Jared Cramer from St. John's Episcopal Church in Grand Haven, Michigan, here with today's edition of Christian Mythbusters, a regular segment I offer to counter some common misconceptions about the Christian faith. We've all heard the phrase, forgive and forget. It's well intentioned advice meant to help us move past pain, but it completely misses what forgiveness really is. Forgetting doesn't heal us. Denying that something happened or pretending it didn't matter only drives the wound deeper. So this week, let's tackle the myth that forgiveness is the same as forgetting. Forgiveness in Scripture is never about erasure, it's about release. It's the decision to stop letting someone else's wrong or your own hurt define your heart. Think about what Jesus actually says when Peter asks him, "How often should I forgive? As many as 7 times?" Jesus replies, "Not 7 times, but 70 times 7." That number isn't about keeping count. It's about cultivating a way of life. Forgiveness, in Jesus' view, is not a single act we do once and move on from. It's a practice. It's the daily choice to loosen our grip on resentment, to refuse the cycle of vengeance, to make room for mercy to take root. But it's important to note what Jesus does not say. He never says, forgive and forget. He never says, pretend it was fine. When Jesus forgives, he looks reality in the face. Think of the resurrected Christ showing his disciples the wounds in his hands and side. The scars remain. Resurrection doesn't erase the pain, it transforms it. And that's exactly what forgiveness does. It takes the truth of the harm and opens it up to the possibility of redemption. True forgiveness doesn't mean abandoning justice or boundaries. You can forgive someone and still say, "You can't treat me that way anymore." You can forgive and still call for accountability. Forgiveness frees you from being controlled by bitterness, but it doesn't excuse or enable the behavior that caused the hurt in the first place. And the Christian teachings on forgiveness should never be used to allow someone to persist in abusive behavior. In pastoral conversations, I often remind people that forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. Forgiveness is something you can do on your own. It's an interior release, laying down the weight you've been carrying so it no longer defines your life. Reconciliation, however, requires mutual honesty and change. It's only possible when both parties want to repair the relationship. Forgiveness is always possible. Reconciliation sometimes isn't. And that's okay. Jesus understood this deeply. On the cross, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." That prayer wasn't about pretending the crucifixion was justified. It was a declaration that hatred would not have the final word. Forgiveness for Jesus was a refusal to mirror the violence done to him. It was his way of breaking the chain of retaliation and choosing love even in agony. When we forgive, we follow that same path. We refuse to let evil shape our souls. We say, "You may have wounded me, but you don't get to own me." That's not weakness, it's courage, and it's spiritual strength. And yes, it's hard. Sometimes forgiveness feels impossible, especially when the hurt runs deep. But remember, forgiveness is not a one time switch you flip, it's something you grow into. You may forgive in part today and then a little more tomorrow. Over time, that release becomes freedom. Thanks for being with me. To find out more about my parish, you can go to sjegh.com. Until next time, remember, protest like Jesus, love recklessly, and live your faith out in a community that accepts you, but also challenges you to be better tomorrow than you are today.